Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today we have very special review impressions of a knife loaned to me by a channel subscriber. Appreciate you out there for allowing me to check this out. This is the Black Bird Blades Grackle. This is a collab with Bestech. Typically, Blackbirds makes fixed blades and stuff, but let's take a look at this. Alright, so today we're looking at a knife that was, the OEM is Bestech, right? But the knife name is the Grackle. This is a folding blade designed by Black Bird Blades. Typically, they do custom fixed blade knives and stuff, and they came up with an OEM design here for a production knife that's a folder. So the manufacturer that they worked with is Bestech. So Bestech made this. Some of the specs you're going to really like. There's a lot of good things about this knife. All right, so the first thing that we want to talk about is the materials. All right, so the handle is titanium. I like this particular version. I think there were different versions of it, and I don't know if you can still find it available out there, but it's really well done, I will say. I love the texturing on here. This gives it a nice enough texture to get some grip on there, which I think is pretty cool. They have a nice cutaway right here, beautiful access to the lock bar. A little chamfering on there, so it's not difficult to get to. Even the cutaway on the lock bar is on the inside, so it's not sticking out, so it's not a pocket shredder. You clear the pocket with this milling that's occurring here, so this is not going to catch on your pockets to destroy your pockets. Beautifully rounded all the way around the corners. It's not necessarily chamfered, it's rounded, so that's really nice. T8 hardware all the way around. I don't think it's a fixed pivot. It looks like it might be, you know, maybe part of it's fixed inside. I don't know. I didn't take it apart. This is a loaner knife. When I'm loaned a knife, I do not take it apart. I don't do anything to it, right? I just take it, get an experience, feel it. You're not going to see me doing a destruction test. You're not going to see me doing all sorts of crazy tests, you know. So even then, you know, I'm not a bushwhacker, so I don't go do that. If you're looking for that, there's a lot of great channels I can recommend. You know, I may not be your cup of tea for that, so you might want to check that out. So anyways, titanium handles, beautifully rounded. I like the back spacer in the back, matches, everything's lined up really well. Deep pocket carry clip, the clip works really well. It's got some nice flexibility. It does have a roundedness. It does give you a relatively deep pocket carry. It's not fully hidden, but relatively deep, which is nice. This is a very thin knife, so it's a beautiful, like, gentleman carry, if you will. Sort of like what they call this, I don't know if you want to call this stormtrooper look, but it is that tuxedo kind of version. You know, you've got this beautiful satin finish. It looks like a belt satin finish on here. And then you have this black, I'm going to assume it's PVD or Cerakoted on here. Beautifully done. And then there's a little Blackbird logo on there, lasered on there, which is nice. I like the black hardware to stand off with this over here, so it gives it nice accents. I think that's really cool. There's great milling, weight relief on the inside to make this knife not super heavy. We'll do the measurements here in a second. Again, it's tuned pretty well, as you can see. Sorry, get my finger in there. You can get in there pretty nicely. It is a pretty stiff, kind of crisp one there. So, you know, if you like a really crisp knife, you can definitely do that. It also has a little extended fuller that you can fully use. So if you want to put your thumb down and use that with kind of a corner of your finger, that works really well as well. So that's kind of like a bonus flick, if you will. Now, left-handed, it's a little more challenging, especially if you got big old meaty fingers, big meaty hands like me. I'll talk about that in a second, but the design overall is just, it's executed really well. Magnacut blade steel 63 HRC. They did make sure that's what it was listed at. When I look at River's Edge Cutlery that had a listing for this, that's what they listed as 63 HRC. So that's pretty cool. That means they really wanted to go out of their way to do so. At the time of this video, it was listed for around $300, which makes sense for everything that you're getting. It's well executed. There's a lot of details, a lot of little things that you can tell. Like, for instance, there's no sharp edges. This doesn't catch anywhere. There's no sharp edges all around. You can get a nice full grip. Now, by the way, I have big meaty fingers. So I have a large hand with meaty fingers. So if you have an extra large hand with regular size fingers, about your grip. Double extra large hands with thinner fingers, this is going to be about your grip. So an extra large hand with big meaty fingers, you're going to have room. I think you can almost get a double extra large hand with big meaty fingers there. You might be close to 3.5, but I think you're still going to be on, because you can definitely choke up here. So there's definitely some room to go up. There's no pass choke, but you can get all the way up here. The jimping here is very functional. It's not crazy on the top when you move across, but as soon as you push down, you are locked in. You're really locked in. So it's aggressive enough when you need it to be. I do like that. You know, I think Cole from Tri-State, he likes to do the pinch grip. I'm not sure what I would do with that one, but I think you can do that. You know, I'll defer to him. He's more of an expert in that area. But I would say if you're like trying to do a precision cut, you can definitely do that. You can get up there, so that's nice. It's got a pretty strong tip here. It goes pretty thick, and it gets a little tip at the end, so be careful about, I wouldn't pry or anything with that, but it is Magnacut, and it's 63 HRC, so it's going to be pretty solid, it's going to be pretty strong, and it's going to, retain its edge really well. It seemed very sharp. Again, like I said, I don't do any kind of use test when this is a lone knife, but I liked it. I liked the way it was, and I kind of just handle it, kind of get a feel for it, to feel like what it's like to have it in my hand and in my possession and stuff like that. So I like everything about it. Obviously, caged bearings action is really quite excellent. It's got a nice flick with a thumb hole, fuller hole. Works really, really nice with the left. And then if you can get in there, that's really nice as well. And likewise on the left hand right over here. It is right hand tip up only, so you can't reverse the clip. So, keep that in mind. If you're left-handed, you're probably going to put it in your rear back pocket or something, I'm going to guess. Right? So, I hear that's what lefties do sometimes. If I'm wrong, I'm not a lefty, so just be gracious with me. Now, one of the things I did have trouble with, because I got big old meaty hands, it was the left-handed reverse flick, and I think if I go down here, this is a little challenging for me, right? Because it's not quite wide enough, and if you got to look, my thumb covers the entire scale. All right, so I've got a big old hand, and then that's the challenge that I have. I love the full flat grind. It does come all the way, well, it's a flat grind. It's not a full flat grind. It stops right there, but it comes to a pretty slicey edge. It's pretty thin. We'll do some measurements to see how thick that is, but it seems pretty nice. So I like everything about it. Again, this access is pretty comfortable. It's not super, it's a pretty strong, if this was my knife, first of all, I would probably tune this just a slight bit. It's really nice now, but that lock bar is a pretty stiff lock bar, which makes it a nice crisp detent. So if you like that, then you're gonna dig that, right? But I find that as comfortable as it is, it's pretty strong there. Might lighten that a little bit. But let's go ahead and get into the weights and the measurements of this knife and see what we got. It feels like 4 ounces, maybe 4.2. I don't know, I'm guessing. 3.5, not even close. 3.5 ounces, which is not bad. 3.5 ounces is pretty darn good, I think. So I like that a lot. All right, so let's see what is the overall length of this knife. So it's 3.5 ounces. Let's see what we got. Going from the tip to the back, we're at, I want to say 7 5/8 inches total overall length. If you measure the handle from the very tip to the back, you're about 4 1/4 inches. If you go to here, to about right here, you're just shy of 4 inches. So, like I said, for that big old medium, large hands with the big old meaty fingers, I've got extra room. So I think extra large, double extra large hands, if you're meaty or not super meaty fingers, you'll have plenty of room. Let's go for the overall cutting length. From here to the back, it's exactly 3 1/4 inches. Overall cutting length itself is about 3 1/8 of an inch. So that's not bad at all. All right, so let's go ahead and do a quick measurement on the blade stock thickness. It doesn't look super thick, but it doesn't look super thin. So we'll go ahead and measure that here. What do we got? We're at 129 thousandths of an inch. We'll go out here a little bit here as well. Yeah, 128 thousandths of an inch, so 0.128, 0.13 inches, which is not bad. It's not super thick, it's not super thin. It's definitely going to be some nice strength and give you some robustness to it. All right, so what's the category for this knife? I would say the category for this knife is, when I say category, we go into the budget, the regular, the higher end, the custom. By the way, I have a new category, super budget. This is definitely not a super budget, definitely not a budget. Matter of fact, the regular category is $100 to $300 in my range right now. And then you have higher end, which is $300 to $600. This is exactly $300. So if you get it just as is, there, I don't know if there's a cheaper version or more expensive version. I didn't get a chance to see it when it dropped, but if you get the higher, if there's something extra added to it, it would fall into the higher end, but the very bottom of it. If it were a little cheaper for whatever reason, like you didn't get the black coated and dual, like tuxedo kind of look, and if it was plain Jane one, maybe that was just under $300, then that would be the very top of the regular end of the knife. It's a fair good amount of money, and it seems like a lot, but there's a lot to be offered here for quality, execution, a lot of little details. Getting a 63 HRC, that always costs more, especially with Magnacut. Having all the little details of no sharp edges, all the chamferings, all the rounded corners everywhere, that's really nice. Sometimes knife makers forget that, especially if you got real long hands and long fingers, or you do a lot of carpentry work and you got calluses. You don't feel things like that, like the other 95% of the people, the regular people who might buy that knife and like it, those people, they don't quite get it, right? And I get it, because what they do, that's the case. We all have some area of expertise where that's the case. We relate to it as we relate to it, and we forget that other people can't, right? So I like the details. I'm just saying those are good. Those are really, really nice. So I'm going to call this a regular. I will put this into the very top of the regular. It's a regular / high-end knife, but I'm going to call it regular because it's right top tier. If you paid for shipping taxes, you would absolutely be in the higher end version, but there you go. So what's the purpose of this? Is it EDC, hard use, or collection piece? Absolutely could be a collection piece. I think if you like Black Bird designs, you would probably really enjoy this. So absolutely could be a collection piece in this level, but it's absolutely I think an EDC hard use knife. That frame lock locks in there. You're good 40% solid in there. No blade play. You have no pivot lash. Nice detent. Clicks in there really well. So all that stuff is executed well, and there's no detent lash down here. Yeah, solid in there. All that makes this a really functional knife and locks in really well. So I think you could do absolutely EDC. It's a very kind of stealthy, gentlemanly, kind of looking knife. You could carry to church, go on a date, whatever, nice places. This would definitely be a cool knife for that. But it's also could easily be a hard use knife, especially with this Magnacut at 63 HRC. This could really be a workhorse for you. So I think if you're okay with that kind of money on a workhorse type of knife, I think you would enjoy it. I think this would be a really, really excellent knife. So that's where I stand on it. Purpose and ergos and feel. So the ergos and feel in this one are excellent. They are really wonderful. Like we said, when we measured this knife, I believe, what did I say it was? I think it was 7 1/4, or was it 7 1/2? No, it was 7 5/8, right? So 7 5/8. It's not quite 8 inches, which makes this, I mean, it's close to a full size, but it's not quite there. And then it's a thinner frame. And for me, that's a challenge personally, because the overall design, the handles, open, close, everything's great. It's just really done absolutely wonderfully. And if you're a person with a smaller hand, thinner fingers, I think you're going to love this knife. I think this is going to really be for you. But if you got, like me, big old meaty fingers and your thumb can cover the entire thing, it's hard to not be on that. So left-handed, it does take away from my left-handed ability to kind of flip it. I can get there. It's sometimes just difficult because I don't get that right grip, and I've got to get just high enough for that to work. So that to me is a bummer. I think if this knife was right at 8 inches or 8 1/4 inches with this thickness proportionally made a little bit bigger, I think it would be outstanding. Where it could benefit if it was just a little wider, a little thinner lock bar. Man, that would just really help big old meaty finger hands like me, But, they don't always design for everybody. They design for what they want, what they like in their aesthetic. And that's fair enough, right? That's why there's so many great designs out there. You have a lot of options, right? And I think this is a great option. I like everything about it. I'm just telling you, if you got the struggles of a large hand or larger with meaty fingers, just hopefully this helps you and you keep it in mind. And if that is not a thing that bothers you at all, then you're fine, right? See, like I'm missing it because my finger is just right on there, and then my thumb gets on that lock bar and I can't get past it. That's my struggle, and I like to fidget with my knives. I'm not a right hand only, and even over here when I was doing it, I would miss my thumb because my thumb is big. To get in that hole, I got to really push down to get in there, right? If I miss it, my thumb goes right past it because it's just not getting in there. And even over here, I got to get the meat of my finger in there to get in there. I can't get my nail or anything. I couldn't even possibly think of that. And when I do try that, then my finger's on the lock bar and I'm locking it. There's no way I can use it, right? So I have to. It's a little thin for me. That's my challenge. But I love it. I think it's a great design. If my wife really liked this knife, or if I knew someone with a little less meaty fingers or smaller hands or thinner fingers, I think they would love this. So I'm just going to tell you, that's when I talk about the design. I love the open and close. I love everything. If my fingers allowed for it to be just a little easier for me to access, there would be no complaints whatsoever. There is no lanyard hole back there, so lanyard folks, sorry. Opening and closing is really nice, and the closing and those caged ball bearings, I bet you put skiffs in there, I think would be even more ridiculous, right? So I think that would be kind of a given. So what is my fidget factor scale? Well, you have a couple. You have the thumb hole, and then you have the fuller. Both of those work really, really, really well. Unfortunately, I'll give you two fidget factor scales. I'll give you my fidget factor scale for my hands, and so if you can relate to that, this will be for you, right? But if you don't have the big old meaty finger struggles like I do, you know, meaty finger struggles are real, right? Chode fingers or whatever else people call them, but that's a real struggle. This is not going to be for you. All right. So I'm going to say the fidget factor on this one, I'm going to give it a 3, right? Because I really can't use it left-handed. It's very, very difficult, very frustrating. And I have a feeling at some point I'm going to cut myself because it's going to slip out of my hand because the few times I almost dropped it. And that's not cool trying to fidget left-handed, right? I can do the thumb, but even then, sometimes I miss with the thumb because it's too big to get in there. So for me, that's a bummer, right? That's a bummer. So that I'm going to give it a 3. Now, if I was smaller hands, thinner fingers, I think this easily could be a 5, maybe even a 6. It's just great. If this knife was proportionately half an inch, 3/4 or an inch bigger, just this way, just proportional out, I think I would be like, I'd be hunting one down, no questions. That's the thing. It's just so close for me. It's like a mini. This is like a great mini. I would call this like a mini version of the real one, right? So the way I look at it is like, this would be, I'd say a mini version of the real one, right? So I like that. And I think it opens up the door for some different folks, and people are going to enjoy that. Now, if you happen to like thinner knives and you have no problem because you don't have big old meaty fingers, or you've learned how to adapt and you don't care, you're going to love this knife. I think the fidget factor definitely goes up to a 5. Absolutely solid 5. So what's the fidgety goodness? Well, for me, the fidgety goodness, this one's going to get like a B. No, B minus, an 80. I'll give it an 80 because everything is so good. It just doesn't fit my hand. That's the only reason why it has an 80. But if you were smaller, thinner fingers, I think this could easily be a 95, a solid A. I mean, heck, maybe even an A plus. I don't know. I don't know if I'd give it 100 because I just don't know. I don't know because I can't experience that with my fingers, right? But I think this would be definitely a solid A for a different hand size. That's the take I'm going to take because it's really done well. And I have no dog in the fight, if you will. I'm just borrowing the knife. I didn't pay for the knife. I don't know Black Bird Blades. I keep messing it up too, but I don't know them. So there's no benefit for me to say positive or negative on this. I could just totally dog this knife if I wanted to, but it's done well. I got to be fair. I mean, it's really, really done well. It makes me sad, okay, to be honest with you, because it's like so close to being a super cool, awesome knife for me. Makes me wish I had smaller fingers. It really does. That's the frustration I'm feeling with this knife. But I know it's so good. So that being said, fidgety goodness is 80 for me, but I think for anybody else, smaller hands, thinner fingers, I think you're going to be at a 95 solid A. Overall thought, is it recommended? I will say, think twice if you got big meaty fingers. I don't know if I could recommend it for my hands, but I will say overall for smaller hands, keep this. This is my caveat. This is my little asterisk here. Is I'm going to recommend this knife, but I'm going to recommend it for smaller hands, thinner fingers, or people who really like a thinner, smaller knife. And if this is your cup of tea, you dig this, then I think this is absolutely going to be a winner. It's a stellar. Everything about it is amazing. Best Tech knocked it out of the park, their execution on this. And Black Bird Blades, when they came to this, it's aesthetically very pleasing. It is just a really cool design. I like it. I like the X's on there. I hope if they ever decide to do another one, I don't know if that run went well and they were all positive about it, but I hope they make one that's just a little bit bigger. Black Bird Blades, if you happen to watch this, which I'm a little guy, so they're probably not going to watch this, but if they happen to watch this, my hope is that they make another version of this just a hair bigger. I love the look of this knife. I really do. It's so close for me. But I know I'd get frustrated. Excuse me. I'd get frustrated in my left hand. I'd probably cut myself at some point, and then it becomes like a no-go knife. I will stop carrying it altogether once that happens, right? So because I really like it, I'm hoping they do another one, make it a little bit bigger. So we'll see. So I'm going to recommend it. It's definitely recommended, but it's the caveat. My recommendation is smaller hands, thinner fingers. If you got bigger hands, just keep that in mind. You might have issues, right? That was my experience. If that's not a problem for you, if that's not a concern for you, then this is an absolute 100% go, right? Find it, buy it, own it, enjoy it. If you got concerns like that, then just, the opportunity comes along, you might think twice. Maybe there's something, a little more ergonomically designed for you that you would appreciate more in that regard. So that's my thoughts on it. I like this knife. Thank you to the channel member who allowed me to check it out. It is a great design. It's a beautiful knife. It's well executed. I really do like it. It's just, for me, it's a bummer the size. That's the only thing I have to say. It's just like sometimes you get some really big knives and they look great, but they're just too big, right? This is one of those where it's just too small or too thin. It's just the opposite, and that's why there's so many designs out there. We all have different hand shapes, hand sizes, ergos. It happens, that's not something unusual. That's just reality of life. And that's why we have so many wonderful designs out there. And I appreciate that. And this, I think, is one of those things that this is up my alley. The look is totally up my alley. Just want it to be a little bigger. So yeah, that's my thoughts. I know I rambled a lot here. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, your insights to this. If you have the knife, what you enjoyed, how you got past that. Maybe you have big old chody, meaty fingers and it didn't bother you. That'd be cool perspective to hear, right? I love to hear that because, I mean, it could be just me, right? It could be just my thing. And that's fine. That's great perspective to hear for others who are maybe watching this video or make a comment. I'd love to hear that. So yeah. Hey, thanks for watching. If you found this content fun, interesting, worthwhile, or entertaining, would you please consider hitting the like button down below? And if you've already hit that like button, would you please consider hitting the subscribe button? Subscribing and liking the videos really helps out the channel, allows the channel to produce more content, do more things, ultimately do more things for you guys. So thank you. Thank you to everyone who watches the videos, watches the content, part of the live stream, comments. I appreciate every one of you guys. If you haven't already, hit that notification button down below so you can be notified of future content like this video. And to my channel members, a big, huge thank you. Thank you for supporting the channel. You guys are very encouraging, especially when, working a lot, and this is my part-time thing, so I appreciate that. And then two, you've also, you allow me to do things way sooner than I ever thought I'd be able to do, and I appreciate that. Like, covering the cost of shipping borrowed knives, that gets expensive, and it's something I wouldn't be able to do if it weren't for some of the channel members and some of the generous people out there, so I appreciate that so very much. Thank you. Yeah, that's just a huge honor. So if you thought, hey, I'd like to become a channel member, that sounds really cool, I'd love to have you. There's a link down below in the description, 3 different tiers. But on top of that, I do 2 special things for channel members as a thank you for their generousness. They're very generous with their memberships, and that really has been overwhelmingly been grateful for that. So I do an exclusive members only giveaway, and it's usually a much nicer knife that I give. I do a once a week giveaway for everybody. It's usually a budget banger, something really cool, something I enjoy, I want to give away, or I'd give as a gift. So I do that once a week on Mondays, but then I also do once a month channel members exclusive giveaway. So if that's of interest to you, or if you just want to support the channel, or the third thing that I do is also I give every brand new channel member a channel sticker. And if you email me with your name and address, you became a brand new channel member and you're a member right now, and you've never had a sticker, I would love to send you a channel sticker. I just need your name and address and know that, right? So if any of those things interest you, I'd love to have you as a channel member, but don't ever feel obligated to be a channel member. Just do it if you want to. That's my only request. I want you to want to do it, but I don't ever want you to feel obligated. But I appreciate every one of you guys. So thank you. Thank you to every one of you out there. If you haven't already, check me out over on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, that's on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day and a great week.